Hello, my fellow heathens. This is the third and final response to Phil Fernandes. In the first video, he claimed that Dungeons & Dragons, the role-playing game, caused a man to murder 3 people. This was bogus and pure nonsense. In the second video, he was going on about absolute truth and absolute morality, claiming that witches deny truth and have no morals. In this video, Phil misrepresents witches and conflates us with communism and misquotes a New Age Christian. So, let's get right into this.
Another universe, this is the only real universe there is the one that the God of the Bible created. So they can deny things like absolute truth and absolute morality, but their actions speak louder than their words. They live like Christianity is true.
I already challenged the statement that witches deny absolute truth and absolute morality. Absolute truth is undeniable, like your lack of a neck. Phil, you are referring to subjective concepts of truth and not absolute truth. I do not agree with moral absolutism. I consider myself a moral relativist. All witches are individuals and have their own thoughts on morality and truth. If witches believed Christianity was true, and that Jesus was the only way to be saved, they would have to renounce their practice of divination, sorcery, magic, astrology, idolatry, witchcraft, fortune-telling, communing with spirits, channeling, and a host of other things condemned in the Bible. Basically, they would not be witches anymore. They would be Christians. I don't even know what you are basing this off. How do we act like Christianity is true?
Many witches are feminist and lesbians. I'm not saying if a female...
Oh man, this is going to be fun. I love watching the reactions of people when they realize they shove their own foot in their mouth.
is Wiccan, and by the way, most Wiccans, a high percentage of Wiccans, about 70%, are female. But I'm not saying because someone's a female Wiccan, they're automatically a lesbian.
Phil, just ignore it, deflect to another topic, and move on. Your audience will never notice.
But there's a higher percentage of female Wiccans that would be...
No, Phil, you were doing so well. That was a nice deflection earlier. What happened?
Lesbians, then...
Abort.
The general population of females would have.
We all witness your realization. No, not all witches are female, nor are all witches feminists or lesbians. Broad generalizations can be convenient. Other times, they're outright ineffective and misleading. In this case, it was ineffective and misleading. I started to research these statistics until it dawned on me that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if witchcraft is filled with lesbians or males. English traditional Wicca places a high importance on a balance of male and female participants. The altar, tools, directions, elements, rituals, and the practice all involve balance of male and female. So where you are correct that the majority of witches are female, nearly 5 to 1 in America and 2 to 1 in England, at the heart of English traditional Wicca liturgy and ritual is a balance of male and female. All of our rituals involve a high priest and a high priestess, which must be present to even begin. Since the Wiccan have no opinion on one's sexual orientation, it would not matter if participants are lesbian or not. So, it's a non-issue.
And so, the Wiccans view traditional Christianity as intolerant and detrimental to society.
Some people who claim to be Christians are very intolerant, but that does not mean Christianity is detrimental to society. There are many Christians who find comfort in their religion, and there are Christian-based organizations that are beneficial to society. So it is not a detriment. The lying, the deceit, and moral aggrandizing we could do without, though. I am disappointed, Phil. Here I was, thinking I was going to be refuting complex philosophical concepts on truth and morality. Instead, I find you flinging bullshit.
They really focus on the Salem witch trials. If you listen to them, you would think that, 2 million witches were killed during that time period. In reality, I think there's only been 24 confirmed deaths from it, so it's not quite as widespread. People in the name of Christianity have done some pretty weird things and some pretty bad things, but when you compare it with any other worldview,
I am not sure who you talked to, but it sounds like they were not up on their history. The Salem witch trials were nothing compared to the European witch craze. I am not going to enter into some competition of who stands on the least bodies. Modern witchcraft would win, by the way.
Boy, am I glad I'm a Christian. The atheistic communism slaughtered over 100 million people in the 20th century alone during peacetime. That's not counting wars. Neo-pagan Nazism. The Nazis' views were very similar to Wiccan beliefs in a lot of areas.
Oh, I guess we are going to have a body count competition. Great. Communism is a social and economic form of government. The Bolsheviks were in favor of state-mandated secularism, and they promoted atheism. Article 14 of the 1993 Constitution stipulates that the Russian Federation is a secular state. No religion may be established as the state religion or a compulsory religion. Religious associations are separated from the state and are equal before the law. Much like the U.S. separation of church and state, as codified in Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. The Nazi Party, or the National Socialist German Workers' Party, were majority Christian, 66% Protestant, 33% Catholic, and 1% other. Heinrich Himmler, who was Hitler's right-hand man, leader of the Gestapo and the SS, had a large collection of esoteric books related to the occult and used symbolism from German folklore to unite the German people. Christians, such as yourself, like to make unsubstantiated claims that the Nazis were neo-pagans or occultists, and this is simply not the case. A motto of the Nazi Party found on many artifacts from World War II reads Gott mit uns, which loosely translates to God be with us. So my question to you, Phil, is, was God with the Nazis?
And but they'll also blow out of proportion the number of so-called witches that were killed in about 3 or 4 centuries in medieval times by the Roman Catholic Church.
The number of people who were tortured and killed during the witch craze moral panic that lasted from the 14th to the 18th centuries number into the thousands over approximately 400 years. I have heard numbers ranging from 50,000 upwards to 200,000. It has been a challenge to get accurate numbers, and I am sure, depending on who you talk to, they might downplay the numbers or exaggerate them to suit their agenda.
And they say, oh, Christianity is intolerant. Let me tell you, Barbara Marx Hubbard, she worked for the Jimmy Carter administration. Her views are very much like the Wiccans. She's a leading New Age author, and she calls for the extermination of one out of every 4 people on the planet Earth. Because they do not believe that man is God, and they're not open to it because they believe there's a God and you're not him. So she's talking about exterminating every traditional Christian, traditional Muslim, and traditional Jew. And she's smart enough, by the way, to know that not everybody who claims to be a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew really holds to their traditional beliefs.
Okay, I'm drawing the line here. I really doubt Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is a New Age Jesus-loving Christian and ran for vice president in 1984, called for the extermination of 1/4 of the Earth's population and the extermination of every traditional Christian, Jew, and Muslim. She has nothing to do with witchcraft or paganism. She believes in the biblical God, and I am very certain the statement was taken out of context.
They consider traditional Christianity intolerant and detrimental to society.
Yeah, we probably do. I already addressed this, but yes, I personally think that some types of Christians are intolerant. Others are more tolerant.
They promote sexual freedom, probably not opposed to polygamy, definitely not opposed to the homosexual lifestyle.
Guilty as charged. With the exception of very rare few witches, I think it would be safe to say that yes, the majority of witches would advocate for sexual freedom, citing that whatever consenting legal adults do in the privacy of their own homes, as long as they are not breaking any laws, can engage in whatever sexual relationships they like. Homosexuality and polygamy are accepted by many, if not all, witches.
They promote the new morality and worship of the earth.
They worship the earth? Oh, the horror! As I stated previously, I do not necessarily worship the earth as much as I do see my interconnection with it. It sustains me. I am connected with it. Worshipping the earth is a bit of an oversimplification, but in defense of those who do, they have a point. It is closer to being an actual God than your Christian Heavenly Father. As the earth gives us life, it protects us, it feeds us. We can touch it, we can see it, and we can experience it. whereas the Christian God left a book to be mistranslated, distorted by emperors and kings, then interpreted by several different groups that want to kill each other.
And then they have the Wiccan Rede, the rule that they live by. They say there's no absolutes, but they've got this absolute rule that they live by, that ye harm none, do what ye will.
The Rede is an absolute truth. What? No. It is a guideline left to be interpreted by those who read it, and not all witches follow the Rede.
But, and it might, if they actually follow it, they might be a decent citizen.
Well, after those very kind words, I don't know how to prevent my audience from just showering you with praise and adoration.
Although that's questionable.
If only the witches would follow their Rede, they would be decent citizens. Yeah, well, you and your holy just God of the Bible can suck you little piece of I hope you get to death by a herd of
but certainly they're not going to be pleasing in the eyes of the all-holy, totally just God. There's 5 major witchcraft groups. You could look at that when you get a chance. Circle Inc., Covenant of the Goddess, Feminist Wicca, which is nationwide, Gardnerian Wicca.
There are more than 5 types, and the Wiccan being among one of many witchcraft practices. Circle Inc. and Covenant of the Goddess are groups, not traditions. Feminism is a social ideology. Of those 5, only 2 are witchcraft traditions, Dianic and Gardnerian.
Gerald Gardner was one of the forerunners of modern witchcraft movement, based out of Long Island, New York, and Saxon witchcraft, based out of Charlottesville, Virginia.
Based out of... Your notes are incomplete. Without getting into too much detail, Gardner's form of witchcraft originated in 1939 Britain. It came to America via Raymond Buckland and his then-wife Rosemary in 1962. Several major groups started here in the U.S., of which the main one was in Long Island, New York. Raymond founded his own tradition of Sax Wicca in 1974, which might be why you list Charlottesville, Virginia.
Still, even with these big organizations, most covens are independent and operate in secret. In fact, you know...
Most covens meet in secret. That is not exactly correct. There are closed groups, which means they are only open to those invited, and there are open groups, which anyone can join or observe. Most groups meet in a home or a rented space. The ones that are public sometimes bring protesters who wish to disturb it.
These pagan individuals who have rejected you openly.
Christians, aren't you glad pagans don't barge into your church claiming that paganism is the truth and the way to salvation? The Lord and the Lady is the truth and the way to salvation. We're trying to have a mass here. Do you mind? We want to save your eternal soul. Turn away from Christianity. Ignore them and carry on. How rude. I agree. It is very rude.
Right now, as we speak, there are probably covens of teenagers that are meeting because of some role-playing game or some video game or computer game that they were on.
Oddly enough, Gerald Gardner was a rabid video gamer.
That they learned about the occult, got interested, and then started reading more stuff. And so most covens are self-styled.
What do you have against Dungeons and Dragons? Show me on this, Dolly. Where did D&D hurt you?
And we now have Wiccan chaplains in the United States military as well. A lot of the evangelical chaplains tell me about how difficult it is to preach the Word of God, because if you're going to have Bible studies for Christians, you have to also leave the chapel facilities open for Wiccans to have studies, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, even Satanists. If there's some Satanists, believe me, the military doesn't have, our government doesn't have the moral fiber anymore to say, no Satanists allowed.
Translation, you're butthurt that the United States military is following the guidelines of the First Amendment. Worship facilities are accessible to any group that needs it for services. The Constitution protects all religions, not just Christianity. I know, it's okay. Show me on this, Dolly, where the First Amendment hurt you.
So let's take a look, really quick refutation of Wiccan beliefs and practices. The denial of absolute truth is self-refuting. See, when you make the statement there is no absolute truth, you're making an absolute truth claim.
There is absolute truth, but not everything is objectively true. As I mentioned in a previous video, an absolute truth is that a circle cannot be a square and a square is not a circle. Subjective truth is what the concept of a deity is.
Okay? There is no absolute truth. Ask them, is that true? If it's not, I'm just going to ignore you. But if you say that it's true, it can't be true because it's self-refuting.
What is true? It would depend on what they are talking about. It might be a subjective truth, like the existence of a deity, or it could be an absolute truth, like we need the earth for our survival.
The denial of absolute morality is not livable. You see, they say things like, it's wrong to call my actions wrong because there's no such thing as wrong. Well, if there's no such thing as wrong, Christians are never wrong. Leave us alone.
Morality is relative, not absolute. We already went over this in the second video. Leave us alone? Okay, I promise to stop forcing my way into your church and disrupting your service, screaming at you to convert to being a witch. I promise to stop setting up a soapbox in a busy corner with a bullhorn, screaming at you to convert to being a witch. And I promise to stop making little chick tracts telling you to convert to being a witch. Now, please do the same.
Okay? They condemn the Salem witch trials as wrong and as evil, yet they want to say there's no such thing as wrong. So again, you know, see, as a Christian, I can call things like the Holocaust evil. If I were a Wiccan, I wouldn't be able to call it evil.
Nobody in the world except Christians believe that the Holocaust and the Salem witch trials were wrong. Murder and genocide are wrong. We've agreed upon this as a society. Your Bible, however, condones genocide. It may be why Hitler felt that it was just and right in the eyes of God, and that is why SS paraphernalia bore the inscription Gott mit uns.
So it's actually doing more damage. This is why God gave man dominion over the earth, something that Wiccans loathe.
Why would the witches loathe God in the Bible, saying that man has dominion over the earth? That would mean that man has sovereignty and control over the earth, a responsibility to it. And we do. So that's an accurate statement. I think what the witches loathe is trashing the earth, spilling oil into our oceans, clear-cutting forests, poisoning our streams, and polluting the air. That's what I loathe, at least. And I am sure nearly every other witch in the entire world would agree.
But God gave man dominion over the earth. We're to be faithful stewards. We're not to worship the earth. We worship the earth. We're going to destroy this planet and ourselves in the process. And then go to hell, really.
You go to hell. I'm already in it. What evidence do you have to claim that witches worshiping the earth would lead to its destruction?
The failure of the Wiccan worldviews, whether it's pantheism, polytheism, or panentheism, only theism, belief in a personal God, adequately explains reality, the origin of the universe, the validity of human reason, that our thinking ability works because we were created in the image of a rational God, morality, design in the universe, meaning in life, even human rights.
All the other theisms fail, but for some weirdo, bizarro world reason, monotheism doesn't fail? If the belief in a monotheistic deity adequately explains reality, why only your deity and not another? Why not Zeus or Jupiter or Odin? Why only your deity? That does not fit reality. No, the origin of the universe is being questioned. There was a great expansion of the universe, but as far as the exact origins, we may never know. If you want to believe a fairy tale, that's fine, but as for actual origins, we don't know. The validity of human reason is the result of millions of years of evolution and thousands of years of social interactions, experiments, and applying critical thinking skills. Created in the image of a rational God. This does not sound like a rational God to me. Sounds more like an insecure, jealous tyrant. Meaning in life is found from us giving meaning to it, not the other way around. Human rights are agreed upon and rooted in moral relativism.
And then modern Wiccans, they claim to be ancient pagans, but in reality they're neo-pagans. It's not the old craft. It's a newer Americanized belief system.
They say they are ancient pagans. No, it's neo-paganism. I already addressed this, but yes, we are practicing a modern version of witchcraft today. We do not practice what they did in the 14th century. Witchcraft started in Europe and later came to America.
By the way, we get our word pharmakia from it. I mean, it's from the Greek word pharmakia. We get our word pharmacy from it. And so drug abuse was all part of the occult. It's only in modern times that we separate drug abuse from the world of the occult.
Our ancestors used plants for healing. That is what led to alchemy, then chemistry, then experimenting using plant extractions, etc. It is how we developed medicines like aspirin. Drug abuse comes from addictive behaviors in people. This is the end of this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please be sure to like this video and to share it on your social media. Also, please click the bell icon to get alerts when I release a new video. If you would like to support my work, please consider becoming a Patreon or support me via PayPal with a one-time donation. Until next time, heathens, or support me via PayPal